Hello everyone, Zeno What If here. Those that are new to the channel, subscribe to see some of the content I made. Leave a comment down below for any ideas. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Link down in the description of the fanfiction of this, What If. Here is Season 3 Part 5 of What If the Transformers Were in My Hero Academia. Chapter 7, Unpleasant Reveals. RC couldn't believe it. She genuinely had no words for what just happened. 1 second, everything looked awful. They were at first pinned down, helpless to do anything but watch as Shatterlock went to blow up their human companions without any hesitancy. And then the next second, everything was fine. Well, not fine, but better than it had been. Now the mercenaries were the ones on the ground, with the humans now at the Autobots' side as the bomb that would have killed them instead sent dozens upon dozens of security sentries flying, exploding into scrap metal, and it was all thanks to a certain blue Velocitronian. Blur, the pink femme exclaimed. Doing a spin, Blur started throwing out finger guns at them with a winking smirk. The one and only, baby. Oh, and wasn't that an entrance? He strolled over with his chest puffed and his hands on his hips in pride. Honestly, I outdo myself way too often. Bro, what are you doing here? Jazz uttered incredulously. How'd you even know we were? Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention that part. Ya see, Windblade filled me in on the whole thing, saying she needed someone to get to this island place on the double. Pumping his legs, the blue bot ran in place. So, after pausing my movie and doing a quick little jog, bam. Here I am to save the day. A relieved smile came to RC's lips, sighing in relief. Windblade, thank the stars you think ahead. She really is a smart cookie. Blur trailed off as his optics shifted down below, catching sight of the three humans. One in particular stuck out to him, though. Oh hey, if it isn't Cat Scan, back you go. How's it going, bud? Instantly, a vein bulged out from Katsuki's forehead, his eyes rolling back as he quickly became incensed. How many times do I gotta tell ya, you blue bastard? It's Katsuki Bakugo. For God's sake, it's not that hard. Oh okay, let's not blow a gasket. Blur tried calming the situation. I'm sorry. Human essay is super hard, ya know. That only made Bakugo grit his teeth harder. Don't you bots have super advanced processors or something? You could just download stuff from the internet and understand shit, can't ya? With a scoff, Blur brushed the notion off. I mean, yeah, but where's the fun in that? I do a lot better with hands-on stuff, ya know. He peered over to Wheeljack, the inventor staring at him with complete bafflement. Oh, speaking of which, you are new, good sir. Don't think I've seen you around before. Yeah, Wheeljack scratched his head. I've kind of been stuck on this island for 7 years, kid. You, sounds boring. Placing his hands behind his head, Blur started absent-mindedly swinging his leg against the ground. Couldn't imagine being stuck on a place like this for that long, or any length of time, honestly, unless they've got good oil and some decent movies. Then I'd at least be entertained. Leaning over to RC, Wheeljack jerked his thumb toward the babbling bot. Alright, what's the deal with this kid? A sheepish grin spread across RC's features, giving a light chuckle. He's new. He arrived here from Velocitron along with those other Kimia Autobots we mentioned. Oh, yeah, right. Guess that explains him being scatterbrained. Wheeljack's optics moved back to their blue savior, only to see that he had gone straight over to the downed mercenaries, reaching a finger out to poke Razorhorn's head. Kid, the pit are you doing? What? I've never seen a real Insecticon before. Can ya blame em, chomp? Yipe. Quick as a flash, Blur pulled his finger back and zipped right back to his fellows before he could get it bitten off. Then, all at once, the three mercenaries surged back to their feet, aiming their weapons at the group. Is it too late to say sorry? Shatterlock narrowed his optics as he charged his blaster. Far too late. I dunno who you are, blue boy, but you're gonna regret getting in our wa. Beep beep beep, beep beep beep. Oh for the love of, gimme a sec. Turning away, Shatterlock's arm snapped up to his head, answering his comlink. Wolfram, kinda busy. What the frag is it? The equally irritated voice of Wolfram snapped back. Shade, do not test me right now. We've got an issue. Those brats and their yellow friend are closing in on the top floor. Hearing this, the bots and teams were completely taken aback, the three boys all grinning. "Ha, that's the way, guys." Ajiro pumped a fist. "They're gonna make it. Awesome." "Number, not awesome." RC shook her head, pointing across the way. The humans looked out and, to their horror, Razorhorn had already transformed and was flying straight out of the greenhouse, his destination all too clear. "No. Stop him." The Autobots whipped their weapons up and unloaded everything they had, but the metal Caucasus beetle was able to bob and weave around everything, narrowly making it out through the hole. "Scrap." A smirking Shadowlock spoke back to his organic cohort. "Razorhorn's on the way, Wolfram. We'll finish things here and meet you up there." But Wolfram seemed far from pleased. "I expect results, Shade. The fact that you let that yellow bastard escape doesn't give me much confidence." Rolling his optics, Shadowlock dismissed the man's derision. "Relax, we're all professionals here. We'll get the job done, promise." Shadowlock out. With that, he deactivated his comm, and gave an aggravated groan. "I'll be so happy when this deal is done. Tell me about it." Rough Edge agreed, his heat cannon still on target. "Wolf's a good merc, but he's just so uptight." He charged up his cannon, eager to get back to work. "Now, where were we, mate?" FWOOOOOOM. The bots all scattered as the heat beam burst out, with Blur picking up the kids again as more grass and shrubbery were scorched. This time, though, a fire actually broke out, and the flames were immediately heightened as they climbed a large tree. Smoke billowed upward, and while the automatic sprinkler system kicked in, the fire continued to spread at a rapid rate. "Ah, Rough Edge, you bolthead." Shadowlock smacked the orange bot upside the head. "What the frag? We're still in here, ah." Before Rough Edge knew what was happening, he and his cohort were set upon by RC and Jazz once again, the former kicking Shadowlock back while trying to figure out a plan. "Scrap, Blur." Stopping on a dime, the blue bot gave her his undivided attention for a moment. "Take the kids and get up to the roof. B and the others need to get to the top floor. On it like Sonic, boss." Blur saluted, with Katsuki still in his hand. "Bonk. Ow. Hey. Whoops. Sorry, dude, my B." Holding the three boys close, Blur put on a serious face. "No time to lose, though, so hang on. We're taking the direct way to the top floor." Ajiro and Shoto exchanged a nervous glance. What do you plan on?" "Gooing up. SHYOOOOM." Quick as a flash, Blur sped off, leaving his signature streak behind as the boys all screamed in his grasp. He ran straight up the wall and through the hole, jumping up and continuing his run up the outside of the tower wall. As he and kids left, RC blocked a strike from Shadowlock with her swords while hollering, "Wheeljack. You've gotta put out that fire. We'll hold him off, man." Jazz assured, laying on suppressing fire to try and knock Rough Edge's heat cannon out of his hand. "Hurry." "Right." Wheeljack nodded, rushing toward the flames as he shifted his gear shredder out for something less violent. At the end of his arm, a nozzle popped out and he started spraying fire suppressant foam at the fire, doing his best to get every flicker out. "Ha, Scrap, come on, kids, make it up to the top. For all our sakes. Ha, this is it." Melissa's announcement came after the team had just finished a rather tribulating final push to get where they were now. There had been so many security drones dispatched after they made it past the server room that they actually were forced to take a detour, one that saw them now on one of the tower's many roofs. There were 3 sub-towers surrounding the primary tower in the center, and they had to find a way to get back into that main part of the building. Nearby, a large maintenance hatch opened up, and Bumblebee came climbing out, though not before flicking off a security drone that had latched onto him, sending it falling off the building. Okay, so what's the plan from here?" Pointing up, Melissa indicated a sealed-off window on the main tower. "There, that window should be right on the 190th floor." Tenya furrowed his brow uncertainly. "But that's easily 20 floors above us. Climbing up from the outside won't be an easy task. I can make a few grappling hooks for everyone," Momo said, cupping her hands together to grate a hook launcher gun. "But Ida's correct, scaling the side will be difficult." She lifted her dress ever so slightly for emphasis. "Especially since we're wearing these." Guys, aren't you forgetting something?" May sauntered over to Ochako, reaching up and pointing down at her head. "We've got rosy cheeks here. Nodding, Melissa approached the brunette as well. Exactly. With your quirk, Ochako, we can make it up there no problem. It'll be easy. Ochako brow furrowed, noticing Melissa's hand trembling against her chest. Melissa. Hey, are you alright? Kyoka asked, seeing it as well. You're shaking like a leaf. The blonde genius vehemently shook her head. It's fine, really. We need to. Melissa. Feeling a hand on her shoulder, Melissa whirled around to see Deku looking directly at her, seeing his eyes behind the bright red orbs of his helmet. They were full of concern as he asked, "Are you afraid of heights?" No, it's not that. Melissa denied. I'm, honestly more afraid of what we'll find up there. There's still so many questions left unanswered. Why did the villains take the island in the first place? And what did they want? Bumblebee knelt down, trying to reassure her as well. Trust me, Melissa, I've been wondering the same thing since this all started. He reached a finger down under her chin, perking her head up gently. But I promise, no matter what we find up there, we'll all face it together. Isn't that right, team? Right, the group unanimously said, with Denki adding, we'll roll with the punches. You guys, thanks. Melissa grinned, balling her fists as a renewed confidence flowed into her. So, let's get up there, shall we? Bumblebee nodded, peering up at the window. Right, but who goes up first? May had an answer without even thinking. Well, obviously Mel and me should head there. Between the two of us, I bet we could get this system back on track in less than a minute. Agreed, Melissa said, smiling at her friend and apparent rival. But we'll also need a line of defense. Nudging the blonde's arm, Kyoka sent her a wink, jerking her thumb between herself and Izuku. And that's where we'll come in. We'll clear the way for you and, At that moment, the perplet gasped and whipped around, her ears catching the sound of something big approaching. VMB 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 VMB. And it was very familiar, there was no doubt about it. Oh god, no. He's back, she screamed, taking cover next to Izuku. Before anyone could ask what she meant, they quickly found out when a familiar whooping cry came up from below. Raiaiaiaia. Asterisk WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT asterisk transforming in midair, the Insection Razorhorn came hurtling down and landed with a heavy asterisk THOOM upon the roof, readying his stance for combat. This is as far as you go, Autobot. He bellowed, scanning his sights across the group. You and your companions. My patience is wearing thin, and I am rather famished. He pulled his electro-shot rifle off his back, charging it up. Of course, I prefer my organics cooked, HM. I'm sorry, did he say, cooked? Denki uttered. Keita grit her teeth, taking point at the front of the group as she prepared to use her quirk again. Yeah, and that's what we'll be in more than one sense if we don't, hey. However, Bumblebee swiftly pulled her back, taking her place instead. What the heck? The scout peered down at her, his gaze quite stern and serious. Keita, believe me when I say that you do not want to fight an Insecticon. They're brutal, unforgiving and unpredictable. B set his sights back on the brute before him. We're lucky that there's only ONE here, but that's already one too many. You speak the truth. There is no greater ferocity than an Insecticon hive, but I prefer to hunt alone. His finger on the trigger, Razorhorn went to fire. And you will be a worthy quarry for me, Autobot. KRA zap. Scatter. Tenya ordered, instinctively grabbing the person closest to him and running. The others followed his lead as Bumblebee ducked the attack and fired from his plasma cannon, leading the Insecticon away. Get to the tower. B yelled. Quickly. Tenya acknowledged the order without question. You heard him, everyone. Let's move. Would love to, Specs, just as soon as I get my hand back. Tenya's eyes widened as he whirled around, seeing a rather bashful Hatsume. And it was then that he realized he'd grabbed her in his rush, leading him to blush and let go. Clearing his throat, he said, ahem, of course. Come, we must act quickly. Tenya didn't notice, but the pink-haired inventor wore a small smile as she gathered with the others, taking her place by Melissa's side. Now, Uraraka, are you capable of lifting 4 people at once? Pursing her lips, Ochako thought it over in her head. I think so. I just can't lose concentration. Otherwise, I'll lose it. Your hold on us. Melissa guessed. That, and everything I ate this afternoon. Oh, I see. Approaching the four, Momo handed them each one grapple gun. Here, take these. If you can't get close enough to the window, latch onto it and pull. Her sights locked onto Izuku. Midoriya, you'll know what to do from there. With a final nod, Izuku gave a thumbs up. Right. Thank you, Yaoyorozu. Is everybody ready? The girls all nodded as well and the group gathered up, with Kyoka getting on Izuku's back. Hold on tight, okay. Don't have to tell me twice, celery stick. Kyoka secured her arms around his neck, while gulping down all of her apprehension. So close. The same could be said for the greenette. Even with his helmet on, he could smell Kyoka's lavender shampoo. So close. Alright, Mel, hop on. May announced, offering her own piggyback ride. Really? Are you sure? Flexing her arm, May winked as she showed Melissa her hidden musculature. Relax, you're in good hands. Well, Oka, Ayy. The blonde genius shuffled over and, before she knew it, she was scooped up and May propped her right onto her back. Blinking in shock, she peered down to see that May didn't even flinch. I might have to start doing what you do in the workshop. The duo shared a laugh before Melissa gave Ochako the word. Okay, we're ready. With that, the brunette touched all four of them and they began lifting up off the ground, steadily rising up into the air. Taking a deep breath, Tenya turned to his fellow classmates, who were all surrounding their gravity-defying friend. As for us, our duty is to protect Uraraka. Is that clear? Crystal, class representative, Keita gave a thumbs up. We won't let any, huh? Just then, the sound of a door opening up caught the Soro Parts user's attention, and her eyes widened when she saw what it was. Across the way, the same entrance they'd just come through opened up, and many more security drones were on their way. Oh, crap. More. Denki hollered. You've gotta be kidding. Up above, the floating quartet gasped. Shit, seriously. Kyoka seethed. But thankfully, cooler heads were prevailing as Momo created a large cannon by her side, grabbing Denki by the back of his suit and instructing him. Kaminari, do not panic now. Man the cannon while I make ammo. This will not be where it ends, am I clear? Why yes, ma'am. As those two readied the cannon, Iida took point alongside Keita. As for us, Kiryu, let's do our best to break through the opposition. Don't gotta tell me twice. RRAAAAAUUGH. All at once, Keita's body began to shift again, though this time in a way that finally did her dress in. RRRRRIIIIIIIIIP. The garment tore off entirely, though thankfully, she was still wearing her bodysuit underneath, which flexed along with her body as it grew. And then, THOOM, she landed on all fours, having taken on the form of a triceratops. Sorry, Yaomomo. But the rich girl waved her off. Don't worry, I can buy a new one. You just do what you do best. Wreck shit. Precisely. On that note, Keita charged right into the swarm of drones, with Tenya following soon after. The blue-haired boy's engines revved up to full power, the flames from the exhaust becoming bright blue. Torque over. Recipro burst. Curse smash. The pair's attack sent a countless number of drones flying, and soon after, Denki and Momo unleashed the first round of fire from the cannon to take out even more. Ka-bam. Ochako flinched slightly from the loud noise, but she couldn't afford to lose concentration, not now. They're almost there, she thought to herself, seeing her friend's concerned eyes from above. Don't worry, guys, we can do this. You just. Raiaiaiaia. Her eyes widened as the whooping shriek of Razorhorn echoed through the night, making her whip her head around to see flying directly toward her friends. Bumblebee was clinging to his back, but the Insecticon proved to be too strong in the air. The others only noticed it too late, and by the time they did, even more security drones had flooded the roof. So much so that they started to climb over Keita. Get off. The transformed Ceratopsian threw the drones away, but even more began to clamber up her legs. Baff. At that moment, Tenya's engine sputtered out as well. No. Denki stood up, recoiling in fear. Crap, we're being overrun. Yaomomo, how's that ammo? Breathing hard, Momo poured everything she had into making as much ammo as she could. She could practically feel her lipids burning, but she couldn't afford to stop now. It's coming, need more time. Izuku yelled, trying to maneuver himself and Kyoko away as best he could. Mei was furiously pumping her legs through the air next to him, trying to do the same. "Watch out!" Bumblebee screamed desperately. Everything was going completely off the rails, and all Ochako could do was screw her eyes shut and plead for it to stop. No. And no, please, no. Little did she know, however, that she was going to get exactly what she wanted. H**. Opening her eyes, Ochako felt a rush of wind go roaring past her face, and she saw a blue streak shooting straight up the tower before leaping off and striking Razorshell across the face, sending him and Bumblebee back to the roof. And then, boom, D-I-I-I-I-I-I-E-E-E-E. Everyone was left in utter shock as Bakugo came in from out of nowhere, blasting off a swath of drones from Keita's person. Before anyone knew it, Shoto and Kirishima were also in the fray, the former using his ice to send drones flying while the latter pierced through them with a thrust of his hand. "You guys alright?" Eijiro asked. Kirishima. Denki exclaimed happily. Todoroki, and Bakugo, too. "How'd you guys get here so fast?" Jerking a thumb over his shoulder, Katsuki indicated the blue shape that had just landed next to an equally stunned Bumblebee. "Hey, you can thank him for that." "Huh." Blur laughed, his foot planted firmly on top of the downed Insecticon. "You thought you could get rid of me that easily, bug boy." He turned to B, giving a two-fingered salute. "Sup, Big Yellow. Sorry we're late, had to get some momentum going." B Blur. B uttered. "What are you? Long story. Right now, let's, Gia-ha." Without warning, Razorhorn transformed and flung Blur off, wherein Bumblebee ran up and brought his stinger out. Before he could strike the Insecticon, though, his free arm was grabbed by the brutish bot and he was thrown away as well, though he at least managed to land on his feet. Blur, meanwhile, smacked down directly on his own face. "Grah, I have had enough of you Autobots." Razorhorn growled, bringing out his electro-shot rifle again. Grabbing the Velocitronian by the back of his neck, he hoisted him back up. "Blur, on your feet. We need to take him down quick." Blue BLBLBLBUH. Shaking the daze from his head, Blur stood up straight and jerked a thumb to his chest. "Quick is my middle name. Coach, by the way, what is a middle name? I've been hearing that a lot on this planet." Kraz Chum. Pushing the younger bot, B urged him to, just run. And Blur shot off, leaving him to bank off to the Merc's other side. Meanwhile, Shoto burned through the last of the drones climbing on Keita, rushing to his best friend's side. "You alright, Keita?" "Huh, yeah, I'm good." Nudging him with her nose, Keita winked at him. "Great timing, by the way. And hey, you're using your left side. Desperate times call for desperate measures." Shoto stamped his right foot on the ground and unleashed a wave of ice at more drones. "How are we on getting up to the top floor?" Tenya threw a drone at Kirishima, who stabbed through it using his head. "Nearly there. Midoriya, Jiro, Hatsume and Melissa are being floated up as we speak." "Boom, then let's trash the rest of this freakin' thing so we can get up there and kick some villain ass." Bakugo encouraged, pointing straight at Keita. "Oi, Kiryu, you're a walking tank, aren't ya? Plow through some of these things." The Triceratops student shot him an annoyed look. "Hey, I would charge if I could, but I'm not good at turning." She nudged her head toward the edge. "One wrong move and I'm tumbling down." "Well, have you tried, I dunno, a different Dino?" Keita was about to retort, when she realized he made a good point, much to her aggravation. "I actually haven't tried. Ever since Mission City, all I've been trying out is the trike. I should see if I can switch it up." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, remembering the words of Yukio, to unleash the warrior, release the beast within, come on, armor, spikes, plates. All at once, Keita could feel her body begin to change again, becoming slightly bulkier and heavier. Her back arched up as several plates began protruding from her spine, with her tail getting a bit longer with 4 long spikes piercing out near the tip. Contrastingly, her head began to shrink, her muzzle shortening a bit as her frill and horns disappeared. In the end, she successfully transformed into a very familiar, stout dinosaur, one that everyone there recognized instantly. "Ha. No way," Denki exclaimed. "Ha, amazing, Kiryu." Momo commended as well. Opening her eyes, Keita stumbled around a bit, carefully waving her tail to see the spikes herself. No way. She gasped as she turned her head, seeing her reflection within Shoto's ice wall. Much to her joy, it had worked. Ha ha. Yes. With an emphatic *THOOM, she stomped the ground and declared, I am a Stegosaurus. While she and the others were elated, though, Katsuki merely blasted another drone away while rolling his eyes. Yeah, cool, great, now can ya maybe start swinging the tail of yours? He thrust a finger out across the roof, where even more drones were pouring out. We're about to be overrun. HMPH, I know this is a foreign concept to you, Baku breath, but be patient. With steady motions, Keita plodded along, moving herself so that her tail was better aligned. Stegosaurus isn't the fastest dinosaur, you know, at least, not when it comes to walking. Once she lined herself up just right, she swung her tail back, and then brought it back hard and fast, smashing a whole line of drones with her thagomizer. Crash, and then did the same on the way back. Kerr smash. Ha ha. Woo. Eijiro pumped his hands into the air. Way to go, Kiryu. Keep going, Kiryu. Tenya encouraged. We need to hold the line while. Detroit, SMAAAAAASH. Right then and there, everyone heard Izuku's voice echo across the roof, followed by a loud crashing sound. The teens whipped their heads up and, sure enough, a new hole was blown into the side of the main tower, and Ochako let out an exhausted breath as she finally released her hold. Ha, ha, they got through. She announced, before falling to the rooftop, holding her stomach as her complexion changed to a sickly green. Oh no. Momo rushed to her side, holding the brunette to walk her through it. You're done now, Uraraka, try to relax your stomach for a bit. She set her gaze up to the tower in concern. Come on, guys, finish this. Hawk. Well, that went about as well as we thought. Kyoko waved her hand through the cloud of dust, having been thrown off of Izuku's back during their entry. Her green-clad friend was on the ground, on his knees but slowly starting to stand as well. Hawk, Izuku, are you alright? I'm good. Deku reached out to her in concern, inspecting her for any injuries. What about you, though? You're not hurt. Kyoko shook her head with a smile. No, I think oh, crap. She grimaced as she looked down at her gray stockings, now ripped and full of holes. Thankfully, though, she wasn't bleeding anywhere. Momo's not gonna be happy about that. Probably not, but it was probably gonna happen anyway. Kinda unavoidable. Deku gave her a nudge. But hey, if anything, I think it fits your aesthetic more now. Despite herself, Kyoko couldn't help but grin at him, twirling a jack around her finger. Please, I mean, you're right, but please. She stepped away, trying to change the subject. Anyway, what about the other girls? May, Melissa. Hawk, we're okay. Melissa's voice could be heard through the haze, and before long, they could see her and May making their way toward them. It's not much further, just a little, Just then, from out of nowhere, a fifth figure emerged from the cloud of dust, and he was armed. Quite literally, in fact, as this man had a sword for an arm, his tanned skin covered in purple tattoos all across his face. Mel, watch out! May shrieked, pulling Melissa back before the man could stab her. Instead, all he got was a slice on her arm, blood trickling out immediately. Gia. Melissa's hand went straight for her arm, wincing as a painful sensation went through her. May held onto her as she backed themselves into the nearest corner, keeping their sights locked on the villain. His features twisted into a sneer as he approached them, transforming his other arm into a sword as well. You brats, you've been giving us so much trouble. He raised his blade arms and prepped himself to run through the girls. This is where it ends. Wah. But the tattooed man was brought to an immediate stop, thanks to Kyoko unleashing a full-powered sonic blast on him. He couldn't immediately cover his ears, as well, meaning he took the full brunt of it all. Punch. The villain only just barely heard that before receiving a straight right hook to the cheek, breaking several of his teeth and making him black out instantly. He was sent flying straight down the nearest flight of stairs, where he laid unconscious as his arms transformed back to normal. The eyes of Deku's helmet pierced through the dust as it finally settled, and Kyoko's steely glare bore straight through the knocked-out man with disdain. Pathetic. I'll say. Deku agreed, moving straight for the girls the next second. Kyoka followed after, worried about their blonde friend. Melissa, are you alright? Huh, yeah, I'm fine, she assured, bringing her arm up to show them. See, just a scratch. You're lucky that's all you have, Kyoka said, reaching into her back pocket to pull out a handkerchief. Here, I'll patch you up. As she worked on Melissa, Deku hung his head in utter disappointment. I'm so sorry. It was my job to protect you, An. You did wonderfully, Melissa assured. Like Kyoka said, it could have been a lot worse. He didn't even get the chance to argue back as Melissa reached out, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. Enough of that. You, Kyoka, everyone else, we've all risked everything to get this far. And we're so close to the end. She put on a determined smile as she looked to the other girls, who all mirrored her expression. Now come on, Kamen Rider Deku. Let's see this through. After a moment's pause, Izuku felt his confidence resurge, and while the girls couldn't see it, they could hear him smiling beneath his mask. You're right, let's go. With that, the quartet pressed on, scaling the remaining 10 floors before finally arriving at the 200th. And it was there that they were immediately met with opposition, 2 grunts wielding automatic rifles. Fortunately, they were barely a problem as Kyoka unleashed a sonic blast before they could get a single shot off, and Deku bounded up the stairwell to take them out from there. Nice, dude. Kyoka fist-bumped her best friend as the group pressed on, making their way through a labyrinth of hallways. So, Melissa, where is the control room, anyway? In front of the central elevator. We shouldn't be far from, huh? Right as they were about to make a hard left, Melissa stopped them at the upcoming turn, spotting something out the corner of her eye. The teens peered around the right, where they saw a huge vault door wide open, leading into a huge storage room. And, standing at the main computer were 2 very familiar men. Papa. May's eyes widened in surprise. Whoa, it is him. And Sam, too, Kyoka noted. Come to think of it, we did see them get carted off by the villains earlier. Why'd they bring him up here? Deku furrowed his brow behind his mask. Maybe they need something from him. Something in that room. Melissa peered down to her friends worriedly. We have to help him. Right, let's move. However, as Deku led the way in, they made it just in time to hear something that none of them were prepared for. Up on the surrounding catwalk, Sam had climbed a set of stairs to retrieve something from one of the highly secure containment units, a large, metal briefcase. He had it open, and inside was what appeared to be some sort of strange device, one that resembled a crane machine claw. There were also a blue vial and some other metallic pieces of some sort, but the claw seemed to be the main attraction. We did it, Professor, Sam said gleefully. Everything is all here. Dave let out a sigh, hanging his head in relief. Finally, I've gotten it back. All of my research, and they just took my device away from me. But now, it's mine again. Needless to say, the kids were confused, but it was what Sam said next that truly shocked them. Just like we planned. And it looks like the villains are holding things down. Thank you, I couldn't have done this without your help, Sam. There was a deafening silence through the spacious room, the tension so thick that one word could cut through it like a knife. And that one word was, Papa. Dave froze, his eyes shrinking to the size of peas as his daughter's voice met his ears. He slowly turned, meeting her distressed gaze. Melissa. No. Miss, what are you doing here? Sam asked, also in disbelief. What does he mean that it's like you planned it? Melissa asked her father, ignoring Sam completely. Don't tell me that, you're the one behind this. There was no response, no denial. It made her stomach sink. This was all you. Just to steal something. No, it can't be true. Dave fleetingly closed his eyes, preparing himself to come clean. It was probably the hardest few seconds of his life as he uttered, yes. It is. The entire group of students were completely gobsmacked. This entire plot was orchestrated by Professor David Shield. It was something that both Izuku and Mei almost had as hard a time processing as Melissa, the pink-haired inventor grabbing her own head as it settled in. No. Freaking way. This has to be some kind of joke, right? But Melissa knew, this was no joke. She knew when her father was joking, and this wasn't one of those times. Papa, how could you? The professor was only trying to get back what was stolen. Sam insisted, showing them the briefcase. You see, the invention inside of here can amplify someone's quirk. What? Is that even possible? Next to Melissa, Izuku gave a nod. It is. We've seen it firsthand, but not from that device. Sam nodded down to them. Correct, but what you saw was likely brought about by drugs or chemicals that can damage one's body or psyche. This device, however, will magnify a person's quirk without such ill side effects. Of course, it is only a prototype, but we are confident that it will work. His expression grew grim as he continued on. Despite that, however, our sponsors confiscated it and our research data. They demanded that the project be abandoned as well. They were worried that something like this could drastically restructure superhuman society. His focus shifted directly to Melissa. Fearing chaos, governments from different countries put pressure on your father to end it. That's why we did this. I don't understand, there's something I'm missing, right? Melissa shook her head vehemently. You'd never do this. All David could do was keep his head down in shame. I'm so sorry. This doesn't make any sense. The papa I know wouldn't act like a villain, no matter what. So why, then? Why? David trembled as the fear and anxiousness he'd kept bottled up finally started to come out. I had to, for All Might. Melissa's features were etched with confusion, however, the UA students suddenly paled at the realization. You kids probably don't know this, but his quirk is disappearing. He took the briefcase from Sam to make his point. But if he uses this device, he'll be his old self. No, his abilities will be even stronger than they were. Dave's face broke out into a wistful smile, which whether he knew it or not, came off as a bit crazed to the kids. The number one hero, the symbol of peace, can get his strength and light back again. He can keep saving people, just like he always has. As his tirade went on, Kyoka and Mei both slowly shifted their eyes toward Izuku. They couldn't see his face, but he was standing perfectly still, likely just as stunned as they were. But they didn't know the half of it, the quirk inheritor thinking to himself, the professor's upset because his friend's power is fading. Is this happening because All Might passed one for all to me? He doesn't know. Please, please, just let me hand this to All Might. Dave begged. There's no time to remake it. When he's better, I don't care what punishment I receive. Bringing her arm close to her chest, Melissa hollered, they risked their lives. Dave was taken aback as she pulled the handkerchief off her arm, revealing her injury to him. Deku, Kyoka, Mei and their friends all went through so much. Do you have any idea how dangerous this was? How hard we were trying to save everyone on the island? Kyoka glowered at the scientist as well. Or how about the fact that the assholes you hired turned out to be in cahoots with a bunch of Cybertronian mercenaries? Mei stomped her foot belligerently. Yeah, Bumblebee, Wheeljack and the others are fighting them right now, and if they win, they'll take them away just to make a quick buck off the Decepticons. She swiped her arm at him. Do you have any shame here? What are you talking about? Dave uttered. The villains were supposed to be fake. His gaze trailed over to Sam, who seemed quite nervous all of a sudden. It's all an act, isn't it? Of course, it was a performance. A rough voice called into the room, causing everyone to whirl around. There, standing at the door, were Wolfram and the hacker, both wearing insidious smiles as they walked in. But the real act was pretending we weren't real criminals. Beneath his helmet, Izuku narrowed his eyes, recognizing the man with the metal mask. You're the boss. He was so intent on fighting the man that he hadn't realized he had powered up to 50%, rushing straight into the fray with a single leap. Izuku, wait. Kyoka plugged her jacks into her gloves and went to unleash her signature move, kneeling down and putting both fists to the floor. Heartbeat distortion. A massive pulse of sonic energy rippled through the floor toward Wolfram just as Izuku was about to punch him right in the head. But neither attack would land, as the criminal simply pressed his hand against the wall, a crackle of energy surging through the room. All at once, the railing around the catwalk sprung to life and wrapped both UA students up, flinging them into the wall where they were securely strapped down with the metal bars. Ow! Kyoka. The punk rocker had her hands and legs compressed against her body and her mouth was completely covered up, her eyes full of fear as she muffled out, HMPH. Impup HU. Melissa and Mei gasped, rushing over to try and help. No. Deku, Kyoka, are you okay? Hang on, muscles. Reaching up, May went to pull as hard as she could on the bindings, though they wouldn't budge. "We'll get you and Jackie out of there." "Damn it," Izuku began struggling himself, watching as Wolfram strolled in. "He can control metal." Wolfram grinned sinisterly at the trapped teenager. "Very perceptive. You'd be smart not to resist." Craning his head up, he looked directly at the professor's stout assistant. "Sam, hand it over." Without any hesitation, Sam ripped the briefcase out of David's hands, scampering away as fast as he could. "All right, here you go." Sam. Dave exclaimed, unable to believe any of what was going on. "This was your plan. You were going to hand it over to them all along. You were the one who tricked me, Professor." Sam snapped back, taking Dave off guard. "I've been your assistant for all these years and you let them take our work. We could have had fame and fortune. But no." He peered over his shoulder, his features etched with frustration and vengefulness. "I deserve more, I need to be rewarded. Otherwise, my entire career was a complete waste of time." Dave was about ready to chew right back into him, but then Wolfram raised his pistol at Sam. "Here's the payment I promised you." Pow! A single shot and Sam was sent down, hit directly in the shoulder. The whole room was left astonished at the act, unable to comprehend it. And no, this isn't part of the plan. Is it not? Wolfram retorted, keeping his weapon trained on Sam. "That's strange, because it was always part of mine." He pulled the trigger, ready to end it all. Pow! But, in the blink of an eye, suddenly, Sam wasn't the one being shot anymore. Dave had thrown himself in the way, taking the bullet in his back and right through his chest. The teens could do nothing but watch, almost in slow motion, as Dave's body hit the ground, bleeding out at an excessive rate. Sam could hardly believe it himself. Professor, why? Get out of here. Papa, Melissa shrieked, rushing right over to him. "Melissa, don't. Stay back." But Izuku and Dave's pleas went unheard as the blonde charged in, making Wolfram sneer. Crack! He struck the butt end of his gun across Melissa's head, sending her tumbling to the floor. Melissa. Seeing this happen, Izuku's anger began to boil over, and he started pumping more and more power into One for All as Wolfram stepped on Dave's back. Still trying to play the hero after all this. Too late for that. No matter what your reasons were, you've dirtied your hands now. Whether we're real villains or actors is irrelevant. You planned and committed an actual crime here. You're exactly the same as we are. You can no longer remain a respected scientist or continue your research without shame. Your life is forever tainted by the darkness of villainy. Picking Dave up, Wolfram raised his gun over his head. "And if you ain't a future at all, you'll be a good scientist and mass-produce this device so I can sell it." Thwack! Just like that, Dave was knocked out, and he went to hand him to his hacker. "Here, take him to the roof." But, even on the floor, Melissa wasn't having it. "No, please, no." Her eyes brimmed with tears, pleading the villains to stop. "Give him back. That reminds me." Wolfram aimed his pistol directly between her eyes. "This'll be a lot easier if I get rid of the professor's attachment." Clatchang! Wolfram's eyes darted to his right, seeing Deku break out of his restraints and freeing Kyoka in the process. Then, in the blink of an eye, he was right in front of him. "Do not touch her." The man didn't even get to react as Deku's fist met his face, breaking the mask and sending him flying. Dave flew out of his grasp, but the hacker caught him before Izuku could, but that would be rectified soon enough. "Melissa, go." The blonde genius blinked, still reeling from what she'd just seen. What? But if we don't get that security system down, then all of this would have been for nothing. Deku insisted, Melissa seeing his intense gaze behind the lenses of his helmet. "Go, save All Might and everyone else. I'll save your dad." He shifted his attention toward his best friend. "Kyoka, get Hatsume and Melissa to that control room." "All right." Kyoka stammered, shocked at Izuku's change in demeanor. Not a bad thing, for sure. But still, as she gathered the girls up, she sent him a stern glance. "Come back safe, do you hear me?" The green-haired boy's eyes softened a little at her request. I will. Now go, free the island." "You heard the rider." May complied, taking the girls by their shoulders and pushing them toward the exit. "Let's go." Grah. Just then, Wolfram practically exploded out of the wall he'd been flung into, sending multiple heavy pillars of metal out across the room. The elongating columns then curved downward, aimed right for the ladies as they retreated. "You won't get away." But just before they could hit their mark, Deku rushed in and hit the right button on his belt. Kick. Polyhex, SMAAAASHH. Doing a somersault through the air, Deku's leg became encased with crackling green energy and he crashed straight through the pillars, taking Wolfram aback. Rider kick. Clenching his jaw, the villain readied more pillars to throw at him. "Damn it, what are you? You're no pro hero. You're just a kid." Staying perfectly still, the inheritor of One for All powered himself further than he'd ever had before, and he batted away the pillar with a single strike from full gauntlet. "You're right, I'm no pro. I don't even have my license. But just because I'm still a kid doesn't mean that I won't do everything in my power to protect them." Because I am, Wolfram sent another wave of pillars at him, this time much larger than before. Even so, Deku stood his ground, stomping his foot and causing a ripple to go out through the room. "I am, Kamen Rider. CRACLAAASH. Crossing his arms, Deku took the full brunt of the attack, standing firm despite the immense pain that he was feeling. He could hear Wolfram yell, "Don't make threats you can't live up to, kid." Only to hear an odd noise just a few moments later. Damn it. The best way he could describe it was something booting down, and it made a small grin flash across his lips. Yes, they did it. He started pushing against the pillars, but they wouldn't budge. Crap. By the time he managed to punch his way out, however, the villains were gone, leaving only a trail of blood from David's body. "I have to save him," Deku said to himself, rushing through the halls as fast as he could. "Otherwise, why am I here? I want to be a hero, a Kamen Rider. And that means I will not give up. Ha, at last," May uttered, slumping back in her chair as Melissa did the same next to her. Finally, the security system was back under control. By now, every security drone was coming offline and the tower's barriers were likely opening up, allowing everyone to get out. "We did it, we actually did it." Not yet," Kyoka said, pointing at the screen. "Don't relax yet, ladies, we've still got work to do. Can we get security footage up?" Melissa put in the command without a second thought. Of course. In a flash, several different feeds were being displayed all at once, but there were several that stood out to the girls. In the ballroom, all of the heroes were free and beating down on their captors. Then, in one of the lower halls, All Might was seen sprinting, no doubt already on his way up. In the greenhouse, the mercenaries were retreating through the hole in the wall, and down on the other rooftop, their friends were celebrating as the drones deactivated, right as they had been backed up to the edge. Though not far away, Bumblebee and Blur were still fighting Razorhorn, so not everything was going smoothly. And that was only reaffirmed when they saw Wolfram and his hacker escaping with Dave, while Izuku was in hot pursuit. "Alright, Jackie, what do we do?" May asked. "You still have that comm." The punk rocker opened her hand and May swiftly bestowed the communicator onto her. "Thanks. Melissa, you've got All Might's number, right?" I do." "Then give him a ring, tell him what's going down, and have him meet us on the rooftop, stat. I'll pass the word to B." As Melissa dialed up her surrogate uncle, Kyoka placed the comlink into her ear, calling into her Autobot friend. "Bumblebee, this is Kyoka, you reading me?" Down below, Bumblebee quickly backed off of his fight with Razorhorn and answered, leaving Blur to be as much of an annoyance to the Merc as possible. "Be here. Great job, Kyoka," he commended. "Sounds like the system's back in control. I'm guessing you didn't have trouble with the villains." Her answer didn't instill much confidence. The opposite, actually. David Shield's been shot and he's being taken by their leader. Wait, what? And Izuku's following them to the helipad on the roof. Wait, what? Bumblebee ducked just as Blur was thrown over his head by the baneful Insecticon, only to land on his feet and go zooming back to kick him upside the head. "Oh okay, don't panic, we'll get up there as soon as we." Just then, however, a third voice interjected into the call. Sorry, is this a bad time?" All at once, B's expression lit up, pleased to hear his city speaker friend. "Ha! Windblade! Windblade!" Kyoka cried with joy. "Ha! No way! Where are you? Please tell me you're on the island." A small chuckle came from the femme as she reassured her. HM, don't worry, Kyoka, we're nearly there." And I'm bringing plenty of reinforcements. You said you need us at the very top of the central tower. Yes, please. Before Izuku does something dumb. And then, a fourth voice piped into the call. One that left Bee and Kyoka even more at ease. Because even with all the chaos surrounding them, when they heard this bot's voice, they had a feeling that things would be okay. Do not worry, Kyoka. Came the familiar dulcet rumble, a voice gentle yet booming with authority and kindness. We are nearly there. Bumblebee, I hope to meet you on the rooftop. Let us end this all together. Bumblebee grinned widely, feeling a motivational push that he greatly needed. Ha, read you loud and clear. See you soon, Big Bot. Chapter 8, Rooftop Rampage. We'll be there, Big Bot. Bumblebee out. Finally, the reinforcements that the team were hoping for were on their way. Blur was already a huge help, but a practical influx of Autobot forces would be exactly what they needed to bring this all to an end. All they had to do was wait it out just a few minutes more, while fending off the mercenaries that were still threatening them. Raya. Razorhorn's whooping cry made Bumblebee whirl around, just in time to see the Insecticon barreling toward him with Blur in a chokehold. Grah, you will not get the chance to reunite with your precious leader, Autobot. He threw the speedster right into the scout, sending them both tumbling across the roof. I will see to that. Not far away, Ochako gasped as she watched the pair nearly go over the side, only stopping when Bee caught himself on a railing. Ah, guys, the bots need help. Ochako, wait. Momo insisted, though she herself seemed frustrated about it. We can't. We're woefully unprepared to face a Cybertronian right now. She's correct, Tenya asserted, glancing back toward the others. At this point, most of their clothes were completely worn out, especially between himself, Kirishima, Bakugo and Shoto. Facing those drones has already brought us to near exhaustion. PSH. Please. Katsuki balked. I ain't afraid to take on an oversized cockroach. The roof beneath them trembled as Kata came plodding over, still in the form of a stegosaurus. For once, I'm actually with Bakugo on this one. We can't just leave them ooh no. All of a sudden, the gray-skinned girl began feeling woozy, her head lolling back and forth as her footing became unsteady. Then, right as she was about to fall over, her body began to shrink back into its normal form, hitting the concrete surface with a thud. Stomach, bad. Denki winced as he went to help her sit up. Now you know how I feel. Come on, let's. Blaru. And just like that, Denki's suit was ruined. Oh, come on. Sorry, Kata was about to fall over completely, but thankfully, a certain half-and-half user caught her. Draping her arm over his shoulder, Shoto slowly and carefully hoisted her up, all while she looked at him with a half-lidded stare. I must look so attractive right now, huh? Don't worry, we'll get you a new dress. Shoto assured. And some towels after this. Back near the edge of the roof, Bumblebee and Blur had regained themselves, though Razorhorn had since pulled out his electro-shot cannon again and was ready to scorch the two. Alright, Big Yellow. Blur encouraged. If you got a bright idea, I'd sure like to hear it. It didn't take long for Bee to come up with one, reaching into his subspace storage compartment to procure a certain artifact. I do, actually. Raising the polarity gauntlet, he activated it without a second thought and used it to snatch the Insecticon's weapon away from him, leaving Razorhorn baffled and angry. Ha! Beat that, Merc. Dude. Blur's shoulders slumped forward, tilting his head in utter bafflement. You mean you had that thing on you this whole time? Bee raised an eyerage at him as the electro-shot was magnetically suspended. Yeah, what's your point? Rapidly gesturing between the gauntlet and Razorhorn, Blur's incredulous expression made the scout put two and two together. Oh, okay, in my defense, I'm not the kind of bot who thinks ahead. It's true, Tenya hollered. He is responsible for at least 75% of incidents involving the secret getting out. Thanks, Tenya. Bumblebee deadpanned. You're a real pal. Tossing the electro-shot to Blur, he ordered, hold this. Before charging into battle again, this time with the polarity gauntlet at the ready. Hey, Razorhorn, how's about a little magnetism? Putting it on a higher setting, Bee stopped the charging mercenary in his place and promptly threw him high into the air, sailing directly over the side. The teens ducked as Razorhorn sailed over their heads, all while letting out a cheer. Ha ha. Yes. Ajiro hollered. Nice one, Bee. Vyome. But just then, the celebrations were cut short as the group heard a high-pitched whine, which turned into a loud, propulsion sound as something came up from down below. A dark shadow was cast over the teens, a rather large vessel blocking out the light of the full moon. Bumblebee's optics widened, seeing Razorhorn standing atop what he recognized as a Cybertronian dropship. You have got to be frag. WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT. From below the ship's nose, a huge pulse cannon unfurled and aimed right at them, charging up with a menacing red light. Oh scrap. Get out of the way. Zoom, his legs taking him as fast as he could go, Blur rushed out and grabbed all of the kids, right before. KTHOOOOOM. The cannon blew a hole right into the side of the tower, creating a wall of fire in the process. Ahahaha. Enjoy the show, Autobots. Razorhorn taunted as he transformed into his beetle mode, skyrocketing toward the top of the tower. And watch as your little human companions die. Ha ha ha. Gah. Get back here. But Bee's shouting did nothing as the mercenaries went straight up, leaving them all in the dust. Setting the kids down, Blur started hopping back and forth on his feet, doing some leg stretches for good measure. Don't worry, Big Yellow, I can beat them to the top in no time. I'll make sure the kids. Wait, you'll be severely outnumbered either way. Bumblebee advised against the action, holding a hand out in front of the speedster. We need to. Bumblebee. Just then, the scout's attention was drawn to the nearby maintenance hatch, where RC, Wheeljack and Jazz emerged. The pink femme wasted no time running up, checking on her friends. Guys, are you all okay? RC. Ochako reached out, touching her friend's foot. We're fine, don't worry. But Jazz scanned his sights across the group, seeing some notable absences. Ya say that, but where's Izuku, Kyo, Mei and Melissa? The students shared an awkward glance before pointing up toward the top of the tower. Now why was that my first guess? Wheeljack shook his head. I coulda told ya that. Melissa's the only one besides me who knows how to get the security system back to normal. He craned his head upward, watching the dropship ascend. We gotta follow those aft shafts, though. Sure, the island's free, but this still ain't over. Bumblebee looked up as well, his optics filled with determination. Right, we need to move. The villains have David Shield and Izuku's in pursuit of them. This is still a rescue mission, people, so let's roll for it. On the double. Blah. Kata heaved again. Maybe a bit slower for some. Meanwhile, at the top of the tower, a helicopter was settled directly on the landing pad in the roof's center, and its pilot was waiting with bated breath for his leader. Thankfully, his concerns were dashed as the door across the way opened, with Wolfram and the hacker emerging with David Shield in their custody, but those were the only two of the team that had arrived. Sir, what about the others? The pilot asked. Get the chopper started before the heroes get here. Wolfram dismissed without even acknowledging the question. Why yes, sir. With that, the pilot took to his position, with the hacker putting himself in the co-pilot's chair. That left Wolfram to unceremoniously toss David into the helicopter, the pain jolting him awake. Gah. Damn you. The small barb made Wolfram smirk. Good, you've still got some fight left in you. That means you'll be able to use that energy to make more of this baby. He set the metal briefcase into the chopper, and was about to climb in himself, but then. Clang. Wolfram's eyes shot open as the metal door to the roof went flying straight into the side of the chopper, leaving a considerable dent. Stop. He turned his head, and there in the entryway, he saw Deku with a leg extended, having kicked the door right off its hinges. Give back the professor, right now. No, stay back. Dave shouted weakly. I wonder. Wolfram reached down, lifting the door with one hand. Did you come to bring this man back so we could pay for his crimes? Activating his quirk, the door turned to ribbons and he shot them all out at the boy, hoping to snap him into pieces. But Izuku didn't even flinch. With all the power he could muster, he made a mad sprint for the chopper, intent on bringing an end to all of this. Of course not, he yelled, leaping into the air and dodging the metal tendrils. I'm here to rescue David Shield from the likes of you. Kneeling, Wolfram planted his hand on the helipad and sent out another metal pillar at the UA student. Even though he's a criminal. You watch. Deku continued bounding over the attacks thrown at him. I'm going to save everyone. That includes the professor. Doesn't look like that to me. Wolfram just kept sending more columns and tendrils at the incoming rider, but, to an admittedly impressive degree, Deku just kept parkouring through everything he threw at him. There were some stumbles and mistakes, but for each one he made, Deku just rolled with it and corrected himself. Shut up. This is what heroes do. They help people who are in trouble. And that's when Wolfram pulled out his trump card. He pointed his gun behind him, right at Dave's head. How, exactly? He got what he was hoping for instantly. Deku came to a halt and fell out of the air, planting his feet on the now ruined rooftop. Gee, being a hero seems really inconvenient. I didn't even use much of my power, yet you're helpless. Dave struggled to lift himself up, shouting for Izuku to run. Save yourself. Get away. I won't. Upon hearing his declaration, Wolfram willed another metal pillar to come up straight under Deku, smacking him into the air before he could even take a single step. Not a very smart way to live, kid. He sent more columns to attack the teen, but Deku had regained himself slightly and kept dodging, but one wrong step cost him. Bam! The green-clad rider was caught between two pillars that slammed together, before Wolfram created a third that smashed directly through them. Og! Izuku sailed backward and smacked against the ground, debris raining down upon him. With that, Wolfram boarded the helicopter, shaking his head. Heroes, such a constant disappointment. Take off. At his command, the pilot took the chopper airborne in seconds. And yet Izuku Midoriya got back up. Bringing his quirk to 50%, he dashed up a column that had been propped in the perfect position for a ramp, one that just so happened to be angled with the chopper's ascent. He shouldn't be able to control much metal in the helicopter. Boom! Pumping both legs, Deku launched himself and successfully latched onto the copter's front wheel, managing to take it off course. Back on the roof, Kyoka, Melissa and May had just emerged themselves, at first taken aback by the wreckage before noticing the helicopter, and the fact that their friend was clinging to it. Izuku! Kyoka hollered. Deku! Melissa cried out. Muscles, are you insane? May added. Inside the chopper, Dave was just as incredulous as the girls as Deku climbed up onto the edge. Midoriya, what are you? Grab my hand. Izuku reached out, resisting the wind from the helicopter blades pushing against him. Stop it, you have to let me go. Melissa is down there. The rider insisted, taking Dave aback. Behind the eyes of his mask, the scientist could see Izuku's earnest gaze, reaching his hand out further. Your daughter is waiting for you. But Dave didn't even get the chance to change his mind. I'll give you this, Wolfram grumbled, seated on the helicopter's inside bench, you act like a real hero. He snapped his arm up, aiming right between Deku's eyes. But you're an idiot, too. Thok asterisk, ow. Bang! He took the shot, but Dave suddenly kicking him in the gut took his bullet off target. Ping! It ricocheted off the doorframe and instead grazed Izuku's shoulder, making him lose his grip and go hurtling back down. Even so, he continued to reach his hand out, wanting nothing more but to help. What do I do? What can I do? Crash! The girls screamed in panic as they watched the greenette's body slam into the helipad, leaving a sizable crater. Izuku! No! Kyoka bolted straight for the platform, muttering to herself as tears welled in her eyes. Oh God! Oh no, 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 please no. Making it up the steps, she peered down to see her best friend, thankfully still alive. Izuku, Izuku. She rushed to his side, clawing and pulling the debris off of him. Oh my God, are you hurt? Please, say something. Come back, you can't, Kyoka gasped as Izuku abruptly sat up, pieces of his helmet falling off as he did. One of the antennae was completely broken while the eyepiece on the opposite side had been shattered, leaving a bloody mess over his left eye. Not to mention his muffler was cracked, exposing his mouth slightly. However, he still found the strength to push on, crying out, let him go. Don't take the professor. Damn it. But it was no use. The helicopter just kept climbing higher and higher into the sky. That is, until a certain voice rang out from below. Don't you dare lose that smile. All right, young Midoriya. The teens gasped as a streak of blue, red and yellow shot straight up, causing part of the tower to crumble in its wake as it soared right over the helicopter. Flexing his limbs, the figure unleashed a massive burst of wind that stopped the copter once more, earning several glares from the villains. It's fine now. Do you know why? Jerking a thumb to his chest, the symbol of peace declared his signature line. Because I am here. May and Melissa gave a united cheer as Kyoka steadied Izuku, the latter staring up in astonishment. All Might. He's free. I'll have you return my friend to me, fiend. BWOOSH. With a surge of speed, All Might shot himself down through the helicopter, retrieving Dave and making it blow up along the way. In an instant, the pro landed right next to the teens on the helipad, much to Melissa's relief. Papa. Ka-boom! The blonde knelt right as the wrecked chopper crashed into the roof, leaving everything in a bright, orange glow. All Might tore Dave's restraints off, allowing him to reach out and touch his daughter's cheek. Melissa. Everything will be okay. All Might assured. Don't worry. He sent a big smile toward his prized pupil. You did well, young Midoriya. Melissa told me everything about how you fending off the villain so she could get everything back under control. And your relentless pursuit gave me just enough time to catch up. Slowly, a smile returned to Izuku's lips, his own eyes brimming with tears. All Might, Right then and there, Kyoka pulled him into a tight embrace, burying her head in his chest. Kyoka, are you? Ow. Ow, ow, ow. Her attitude took a 180 as she began repeatedly jabbing him with her jacks in anger. Dummy, 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 dummy. Didn't I tell you not to do anything stupid? Ow, sorry. I just couldn't let them get, away. You're lucky that your heroic side is one of your best aspects, Izuku. Puffing her cheeks, Kyoka folded her arms and turned away. Because I'd have a lot more in store for you than just a couple of pokes if you didn't. As the group laughed, Dave kept silent, lowering his head in shame. All Might, I'm sorry. Catching his friend's attention, he went on. This is all my fault. Vyome. The conversation was cut off, however, as something else came rushing up from down the side of the tower, something very large. The humans looked up with wide eyes as a Cybertronian dropship came hovering right over their heads, with Razorhorn already standing atop the vessel. It didn't take long for Shadowlock to join him, the duo dropping down as the ship stayed airborne. Keep her steady, Rough Edge. Well, seems we underestimated you humans. Shadowlock began his approach as he pontificated. And so did Wolfram, I guess. Stay back, Decepticon. All Might warned. This is over. Shadowlock threw his head back and laughed, seemingly not caring as he activated his blaster. First off, not a con. Second of all, you just ruined our payday, and I'm thinking that deserves some recompense. Right, Razor. I could not agree more. The Insecticon declared, transforming into his robot mode. However, as the duo closed in, ka-bam! A metal pillar came blasting out from between them, making them recoil as it bashed directly into All Might and Dave. No. Izuku whirled around, seeing the entire rooftop coming unglued as metal bits and pieces began to rise up on their own. All Might. Heavy wires and cables wrapped Dave up and pulled him into a huge mess of parts, which were coming together to form some sort of metal juggernaut. Papa. Melissa went to reach out for her dad, but May held her back. Don't. Or you'll end up like the professor. What the pit is even going on? Right as he asked that, more metal cables wrapped around Shadowlock and Razorhorn as well, followed by their own ship getting ripped up and torn apart. Rough Edge came falling out and was quickly pulled in as well, and that's when they saw who was responsible. Standing atop the forming juggernaut was Wolfram himself, his eyes now glowing purple as the quirk enhancement device was secured around his head. He had used it on himself. I heard Sam, he said, his voice reverberating with power. All Might's quirk is failing him. He doesn't have the same unstoppable power he once did. He's using the prof's device. May pointed out. We need to get it off him. By that point, All Might's body was starting to steam up again, staggering to his feet while coughing blood. Hawk. Damn, not much time, have to make this count. Pumping his arms, he buffed up and launched himself at Wolfram. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Texas, SMAAAAASH. He threw one of his most powerful attacks at the man, but Wolfram willed a metal wall to spring up between them, and All Might could only manage to put a small crater into it. What? From behind the wall, several more pillars came surging out, crashing right into All Might. Is that all you got? This tower, it's now my weapon. As he said that, the surface beneath them all began to glow blue, extending down the sides of Central Tower. Within seconds, more and more pieces were torn off and became part of the juggernaut, making it become more humanoid in shape. David Shield's genius lives up to his reputation. I can feel my quirk growing more powerful. Ahahaha. This feels amazing. I'm never taking this. Pow. Pulling back, Wolfram just barely avoided a yellow energy blast aimed right for his head. Well, I'll be damned. He peered down to his growing juggernaut's chest, where Shadowlock, Razorhorn and Rough Edge were all still strapped in. They were directly in front of the metal cocoon that he had sealed David's shield into, and they did not look happy. Wolfram, Shadowlock bellowed. What the frag? This wasn't part of the deal. Curious, how have you three not integrated with my systems? Don't know, don't care, but you're gonna get your ACH. All at once, several more wires pulled on the mercenaries' arms, keeping them securely in place. Goo, you bastard. Wolfram grinned down to them and shook his head. Sorry, Shade, but you of all people should know better than to trust an actual villain. His attention shifted back to All Might. I'll figure out why you three aren't torn to pieces later. Right now, I have bigger fish to fry. He snapped his fingers and sent out more pillars to pursue All Might, who just barely managed to sprint away. Because I know the best way to raise the price of this device. I can charge whatever I want if I use it to kill the number one hero. Ha ha ha. All Might leapt into the air, yelling, fat chance. As he readied another punch, but Wolfram simply created a much bigger column to counter it. He sent All Might hurtling across the tower upon impact, which created a ripple effect that sent the entire roof into chaos. We gotta move. Izuku hollered, taking Kyoka in his arms while Melissa and Mei locked their arms around his neck. In any other moment, he'd be absolutely flustered, but right now wasn't the time to be. They had to save the tower, and their best hope wasn't looking too good. Izuku could see All Might's body starting to give out as he pushed against the pillar, coughing up more blood in the process. This isn't good. He's at his limit. Why won't you just die already? Wolfram roared as he put forth another assault of columns. They would have bore right into the symbol of peace, if they hadn't been frozen over in an instant. Huh. Ka-boom. Go to hell. Appearing as if from out of nowhere, Bakugo hurtled himself into the air and unleashed a barrage of blasts upon Wolfram. The explosions were ultimately blocked by another metal wall, and even now, Katsuki could feel his hand cramping up from overusing his quirk. But he wasn't about to let something stupid like that get in his way. How could you let yourself get beat by such a lame final boss? Hurry and take him down. Even as he struggled, All Might muttered his gratitude to his student. Thanks for the help, young Bakugo. Izuku and the girls, meanwhile, were stunned by the entrance. Kei-Kachan. Hey! The quartet whipped their heads around, seeing Todoroki standing with the others. His right side was frosted over while his left hand burned, and he called out, we'll do what we can. We'll help you. Todoroki. Kyoka beamed. Everyone, you made it. Then, just as Wolfram was about to unleash more attacks upon them, a burst of superhot plasma energy came bursting up through the roof. The blast left a large hole behind, big enough for the Autobot team to come crawling up through. Ha, they're not the only ones. Bumblebee grinned, standing in front of the children with his plasma cannon ready. Izuku brightened up at the sight of his best friend, all while RC, Jazz, Wheeljack and Blur followed his lead. Ha ha. Bumblebee. Guys, wait, Blur. Peering over his shoulder, the blue bot winked down at them. Sup, little green. Bet you're happy to see us. Yeah, but, what are you? Don't worry, I'm just the starting guy. The rest of the cavalry is almost here. Blur knelt down into a starting position, light electric blue sparks coating his body. But right now, I'm seeing a big hunk of scrap being piloted by a human who probably ain't in his right mind. So how's about we take care of Mr. Nuts and Bolts, EH? Wheeljack pulled out his gear shredder once more, taking aim at the moving cables all around. My thoughts exactly. Get the hell offa my island. Charging up a shot, the engineer sent out 3 energy saws that tore through several cables and bits of metal without issue, the blades bouncing off the Juggernaut's armor to tear it up even more. Blur went zooming ahead and used the metal pillars as his own personal track, kicking away any floating metal scrap in his way as he blasted at the Juggernaut as well. RC and Jazz brought out their own weapons as well and started strafing around the behemoth, blasting off hunks of armor. I have no idea how things got this bad, but I sure as the pit know that we're not gonna let this stop us. The Femme declared. Oh, you'd like to think that, wouldn't you, Autobot? Wolfram raised his hands, sending out several cables to capture her. But let's see how you like it when you're integrated with Shank. Ah. The villain recoiled, not in pain, but in shock, as RC switched her rifle out for her blades and started slicing through the cables, completely unaffected by his quirk. No, I don't understand, pow pow pow, gah. This time, his pain was legitimate as several energy blasts struck the metal near his head, leaving a searing sensation from the heat. Jazz, using his grapple to move between chunks of floating metal, kept blasting at the juggernaut in weak spots hoping to take it out. Man, this thing's a piece of work, yo, kids. Mind lending a hand. Gotcha, Jazz. Eijiro affirmed, hardening his skin. Iida, let's blow those hunks of metal out of the sky. Tenya went rushing after the redhead, shouting to his vice rep, Yaoyorozu, take care of things here. Right, Momo affirmed, only for Keita to suddenly pick herself up off her and Denki's shoulders. Kiryu, don't. No. I'm alright, the gray-skinned girl insisted, though her gaze was unfocused as she began to transform her hands into raptor claws. I wanna, herp. Denki held his arm out, brusquely catching her with a deadpan stare. Nah, I think you wanna rest. On the other hand. Momo smiled as she took her off his hands. Go, it's time for you to shine. Thanks. Popping his knuckles, Denki's body began to spark as he rushed into the fray, sending out blasts of lightning all around at incoming metal projectiles. Yahoo! Finally! You're in for a shock, metal dude. As the fighting continued, Bumblebee went over and blasted the pillar that had All Might stopped in its tracks, though it was rather thick and took more than one shot to blow apart. Hold on, All Might. You're not alone in this. Bumblebee, everyone, gritting his teeth, All Might took a deep breath and started pumping himself up again, ignoring the steam that practically billowed off his body. This could not, and would not, be the end. With my friends and students so motivated, there's no way I can be held back by something so foolish as a limit. I need to push past my boundaries, and go beyond. Boom. Whoa. As Bumblebee finally punched through the pillar, All Might then smashed his way through the rest of it, blowing past the shocked yellow bot. It's time to be, plus ultra. The declaration of the number one hero echoed across the rooftop as he rushed past all of the other Autobots, right as the ice that had frozen the columns broke and starting rushing at him. But all the same, All Might just plowed through all of them without breaking a sweat, working his way up to Wolfram. And yet another huge pillar would have crashed down onto him, if he didn't have a plan for it. Carolina, SMAAAAAASH. Shah-Kum. Crossing his arms over his chest, All Might chopped the metal and created a blinding light as a result. Along with it came another wind gust that blew everything around him away, and this was enough to propel him the rest of the way up to Wolfram. Prepare yourself, villain. HYAAA, Unfortunately, his momentum was brought to an abrupt halt as he soared through a metal ring, which then lashed out several cables around the pro's body, suspending him in midair. Everyone gasped at the act as Wolfram lowered himself with a dark chortle. CHYOOM. The villain's ears perked up as Blur suddenly rushed by, getting closer with each second. Hey, hands off, metalhead. You're pretty fast, I'll grant you that. Wolfram flicked his finger, creating a column behind Blur. But you seem a bit too focused on what's in front of you. Try looking in the rearview for once. Crash. Sure enough, the column slammed right into Blur's back, and then Wolfram brought up a metal wall around him and All Might that the blue bot smashed into. There, that oughta give us some privacy. Nice trick, All Might rebuked. But URK. Within seconds, Wolfram had him by the chin, the metal bender's clothes ripping off as something strange began happening. His body started heating up, his skin radiating red energy as his muscles started to grow, his face paint peeling off in the process. Prepare myself. Take your own advice. You've underestimated me. He then reached down to All Might's abdomen, and clenched his other hand into his wound. Yah. The symbol of peace coughed up more blood as he screamed in agony, his mind racing with questions. Where did this strength come from? His now power seems to enhance his muscles. He must have multiple quirks. His eyes widened further, coming to a swift conclusion. Wait, it couldn't be. Oh, but it is. Wolfram grinned, seeing the horror twist into the hero's features. While we were planning this little plot, I received an intriguing phone call from the man himself. He said he wanted to work with me to help. When I asked him why he'd bother, he was happy to explain his interest. I believe his exact words were, "If All Might's friend wants to have a hand in some evil, I will assist in his fall from grace in any way that I can. I regret only that I will not be able to see All Might's face twist in pain when he discovers the truth about the professor." With widened eyes, All Might's greatest fear was realized as he heard that. There could be no other who could have orchestrated these events. All for One is behind this. The number one hero roared, his voice filled with rage. Though he didn't realize just how loud he had yelled that. Little did he know, the metal cone structure that surrounded him and Wolfram served as a large echo chamber, the metal walls reverberating his voice out into the night, and the entire rooftop could hear him. Huh. Eijiro raised a brow. What's that? Who is, All for One? Momo uttered. Shoto's features scrunched, offering a guess. Some sort of villain, more than likely. One that All Might has probably fought before. As the students all processed this, though, Izuku, Bumblebee and most of the Autobots were left frozen. In one single moment, a crucial part of the secret of One for All became known to a good portion of Class 1A. Well, that's going to be hard to explain. Izuku grimaced. If we make it out of here, that is. Back in the metal chamber, Wolfram's smirk increased. What's the matter? Looks like you've finally lost your smile. No. With all the strength he could muster, All Might pulled against the cables to try and deliver a punch, but in seconds, he was driven back by another column that burst out of the wall, driving him through the opposite side. Now out in the open, All Might was suddenly crushed between two huge cubes of scrap metal, Wolfram lowering the wall to see his handiwork. And as he piled on more junk, the UA students were left completely horrified. All Might, no, they echoed. Melissa, tears falling from her eyes, cried out desperately. No, please, don't do this. But Wolfram was all but ready to deliver the coup de grace. Farewell, symbol of P. Shiu pow pow pow. Ow. But right as the finishing blow was about to be dealt, Wolfram suddenly found himself on the receiving end of a bombardment of missiles from the sky, which sent scrap metal flying everywhere. The Autobots down below scrambled to protect their human friends from the flying shrapnel, but all it did to Wolfram was spike his blood pressure. For the love of, what now? Cha thiu who? His answer came in the form of a sonic boom straight to the face, a white and red blur literally screaming past him from out of nowhere. And for some reason, he could hear, "Highway to the Danger Zone," being blasted in his ears. His eyes darted around, and as if in slow motion, he finally caught sight of it as it whizzed by again. A white and red Skystriker jet, outfitted with a set of red turbo thrusters, went barreling past him like a bat out of hell toward the mountain of scrap that he had trapped All Might in. Transform. *WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT. In a split second, the supersonic jet took the form of a tall, aerodynamic Autobot, with a blue visor, black head fins and a silver faceplate. The plane's cockpit settled on his chest while the wings and thruster pack went to his back. Extending a fist out, the Autobot's second-in-command punched through the scrap and came out on the other side in the blink of an eye, carrying a battered All Might in his grasp. He came in for a hard landing right next to Bumblebee and Izuku's group, his feet kicking up sparks as he slid to a stop. Woo. Now I'd say that's one successful rescue attempt. Needless to say, Bee and the kids were thrilled to see their friend, and Melissa was in complete awe at the much larger bot. Ha ha. Jetfire. Kyoka pumped her fists into the air. What an entrance. Setting All Might down, Jetfire gave a slight chuckle. Hey, what can I say? It's part of my handbook. But hey, you all right there, big guy. You Uncle Might. Melissa knelt next to her surrogate uncle, placing a hand on his chest. Please, be okay. Hawk hawk. Well, I've been better, but it certainly could have been much worse. All Might sputtered, his smile returning slightly as he nodded up to the Air Commander. Thank you, Jetfire, I appreciate it. Jetfire waved off the pro, shaking his head as he stood. Ah, don't thank me yet. We've still got work to do. Case in point, he raised his finger straight to the sky and, as if on cue, even more flying objects came diving down from above. And of course, they were all Autobots. As Flare-Up would say, the cavalry's here. Scree-ya. A loud, avian screech broke through the scraping of twisted metal as Erazor brought her wings in, shooting down like a rocket to get in as close as possible to Wolfram. She stoops to conquer. Erazor, maximize. *WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT entering robot mode. The Maximal Warrior bolted around all of the incoming cables and pillars with ease, shooting them down with her arm-mounted darts. Right behind her came Windblade, the city speaker transforming and unsheathing her Stormfall sword to slice through more of weaponized tower's structure. Hiya. Sorry we're late, kids. She called out. Took longer than expected. Windblade. Erazor. Momo cried out joyfully. But the aid didn't stop there. Because soon after, the team saw a much larger vessel come zooming in and started blasting through the metal juggernaut, one that they recognized as a more recent arrival. Hey, that's Appalink's scout ship, Denki pointed out. Sure enough, the back hatch of the ship opened up as it passed over, revealing the Maximal Scientist himself. He wasn't the one piloting it, but the one who was managed to expertly dodge around the incoming columns like a pro. Tap out, you got things from here. You betcha, pal. The green Autobot warrior called out from the front seat. Let's take that wannabe down. At Appalink's side, two femmes came strolling out to jump as well, a certain green Velocitronian and blue ice wielder. Hee, alright, finally. Moonracer declared, bringing out her rocket hammer. Let's get wreckin'. Woohoo. With that, she leapt right out of the ship, much to her friend's chagrin. Moonracer, wait. Glyph stammered, prepping her ice cannon as she jumped as well. She used her device to make an ice trail for her to skate on, weaving through the wreckage all the way down. We need a plan, first. Rolling his optics, Appalink soon followed them down, transforming into his gorilla mode and bringing out his hoverboard to fly out over the battle. Ka-bam! With a hearty giggle, Moonracer bashed her way through a large wall in her way, which coincidentally happened to be the same one that Blur faceplanted into. Yow! Rolling onto the ground, the blue racer did a double-take at his friend's arrival. Moonracer, where'd you come from? Settling her hammer across her shoulders, the cycle bot raised an eyerage and smirked at him. What? A girl can't come along and get into a scrap. She went over and bumped her hip against him. Like I was gonna let you have all the fun. Oof. Hey, I never said anything about excluding you. Maybe not, but you tend to do a lot of fun stuff without me. Since when? Since always you big, blue. Oi. The duo's bantering was halted as another voice piped up, bringing their attention to a very restrained rough edge. The mercenary was secured in a tangled mess of wires, cables and other metal bits, and he wore a sheepish expression as he asked, listen, I know we ain't on good terms or nothin', but, could ya maybe get me outta air? Moonracer immediately scowled at him, shifting her hammer into its rocket launcher mode. And who are you? A con? But Blur reached up and pushed her weapon down. Nah, he's just a merc, a really sorry merc, right? He sent a sly grin to Rough Edge, who was taken aback by the implication. So very sorry for causing all of us so much trouble. The merc was about to chew him out, but Blur continued. Because if he isn't sorry, then he can just forget about us getting him out of this situation, right? With a cheeky grin of her own, Moonracer relaxed and snickered. Oh, you're so right. Well, are you sorry, Mr. Mercenary? I've got no other choice, do I? Both Autobots shook their heads, confirming Rough Edge's assumption. Fine, I'm sorry. There, ya happy. Good enough for me. Blur raised his arm and his hand retracted, giving way to a bright, blue energy chainsaw that made Rough Edge do a double take. Let's get ya out of those binds, and into a pair of stasis cuffs. The merc's shoulders sagged at that. Yeah, right, might as well do them, too. He nudged his head over to Shadowlock and Razorhorn nearby, though they seemed less than thrilled about the agreement. TCH, traitor. Shadowlock scoffed. Well, what you want me to do, just sit, air. Getting arrested by the Autobots is a lot better than whatever that maniac's got in store. Rough Edge's optics narrowed at his group's leader. Which, by the way, was your idea to team up with him in the first place, and look at where that got us. By the time his tirade was over, Roughedge was out and Moonracer slapped a pair of stasis cuffs on him, to which she peered over to the other two. So, what's it gonna be, guys? You sorry, too? The pair of mercs glanced to one another before sighing in disgust, knowing what they had to do. This is humiliating. Shadowlock resigned. Once the words were said, the Velocitronians began freeing them as well, and Blur slapped cuffs on them before they could try anything fishy. I'll never live this down. Meanwhile, Applink had just landed himself, his hoverboard pulling back into his beast legs as he knuckle-walked his way over to Bumblebee and Izuku's group. Everyone, good to see you're alright. He smiled, his yellow optics trailing down toward the humans. At least, I assume you're all alright. We're good, Applink, don't worry. May assured, only to then catch Melissa staring up at the Maximal in astonishment. And that was only doubled as Erizar passed over their heads as she kept attacking Wolfram's juggernaut. Oh, yeah, they come in all shapes and sizes, beasts included. Running a hand through her hair, Melissa offered a smile to the large metal ape. I suppose so. Wheeljack never mentioned animal transformers. HMPH doesn't surprise me. Jetfire commented, crossing his arms over his chest. Wheeljack's a genius, but he does sometimes skimp on but he trailed off after processing exactly what Melissa had said, and coincidentally, the bot in question just so happened to come bounding over the rubble at that moment also. Jetfire and Applink both slowly turned their heads, stunned to see the engineer. Wheeljack. Well, I'll be damned. Jetfire. Wheeljack greeted, coming up to smack the air commander's arm. You're alive. And you're here. How the frag are you here? I could ask you the same question. Last I heard you went up in a supernova. Finally calming down, Jetfire sighed and rubbed his helm. Hey, well, guess we're both full of surprises, then. I'd better get an explanation once we're done here. Right at that moment, a loud creaking noise caught Applink's attention, causing him to crane his head up and let out a gasp. Move, everyone. Quickly scooping up the humans, he launched himself into the air with a jet-propelled leap, getting himself clear of the incoming pillar while Jetfire pushed Bumblebee and Wheeljack away as well. But, just before the column could smash into the floor, crackle creak creak, it was encased in ice in almost a second, courtesy of Glyph, who slid onto the scene on her ice bridge. That was almost too close. The cryogenics expert sighed, her face mask retracting to reveal her concerned gaze. Are you all okay? We're good, Glyph, thanks. Kyoka called back, only to shift her sights back up, seeing the juggernaut still looming above. But who knows how long that'll last. Izuku placed a hand on his mentor's shoulder. All might, don't worry, Wheel. Hawk. Don't count me out just yet, young Midoriya. The symbol of peace coughed, his attention going back to Wolfram. At the moment, he was too preoccupied by the multiple Autobots attacking around him to notice them, which the hero saw as a perfect opportunity. We mustn't let this chance pass us by. This was already personal before, but it's all but certain now that I know All for One is involved. The girls set the pros several scrutinizing stares at that. Yeah, I was gonna ask, who's All for One? Kyoka questioned. All Might flinched, realizing he'd just said that out loud. Oh, you heard that, did you? Quirking a brow, May placed her hands on her hips. Pretty sure everyone did. So who is he? That's, Crash, something that'll have to wait for later. The group's attention went right back to Wolfram, who had managed to catch Windblade with one of his columns. And Wolfram himself was far from pleased. Come on. Why won't you integrate into my system? Why can't I control your metal? Shink stabbing upward, Windblade sliced her way out and took back to the air, unleashing a twin energy attack from her VTOL turbines that made Wolfram lurch back. Gyaugh. But Melissa let out a gasp, rushing forward as the huge machine rocked backward. Wait, stop, my pop is still in there. Her cry of desperation managed to get Windblade's attention, as well as Erizar's. Please, you have to save him. He's all I have. Hearing that, the two of them and Jetfire were about to take to the sky and rescue Dave, but just then, a new sound could be heard, a high-pitched whine that sounded like huge jet engines. Sure enough, they took one more glance up and were met with another surprising sight. High up in the sky, a massive military cargo jet was passing over the island. They could just barely make it out against the night sky, but the lights on its wings made it unmissable. Bumblebee blinked at the jet in confusion, as did the humans. What's that? Hey, the boss man's ride. Jetfire snickered, reaching up to his comlink. Air support, this is Jetfire, do you see the target? Copy that, Jetfire, this is air support, an unknown voice replied. We're getting Big Buddha delivered to drop now. At that, the jet above them began to pitch upward slightly, and the humans were stunned to see the back hatch of the plane start opening up. Stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Within the plane's dark interior, the team could see a set of headlights flash on, and from out of the cargo hold, a certain red and blue Freightliner semi-truck rolled out, free-falling through the air. Insert, Optimus to the rescue, Revenge of the Fallen soundtrack. WHRRTSCHZZTSCHZZTSCHZZCHKT. The trailer hitch extended and split in half, the rear bumper of the truck moving up and out to form a pair of feet for the legs that came shifting down to form the robot's pelvis. The sides of the truck cab shifted out, a pair of blue hands popping out of the headlights as its strong arms took shape. The two windshields served as the robot's chest while the grille was its abdomen, and from the top, a blue-helmed head appeared, one with a vented crest in the center while two antennae sprang up from the sides. And, over the robot's face, was a sharp, silver faceplate, reflecting the light of the moon as his blue optics peered down at the turmoil below. Everyone down below immediately broke out into loud, uproarious cheers that drowned out the metal creaking of the Colossus, while Melissa found herself in silent awe. That had to be him. Wheeljack, is that? Hey, yep, Wheeljack muttered, a grinning sensation spreading across his own faceplate. That's Optimus Prime. With a loud grunt, the Autobot leader went into free fall, only for a set of 3 parachutes to pop out of his back and slow his descent. Seeing this, Wolfram gave an angry roar as he sent out a particularly massive column to blast him out of the sky. The villain was completely unprepared for what happened next. Autobots, I'm on my way. Using his axe, Optimus cut himself free from the chutes and caught hold of the pillar, swinging himself up and transforming into his truck mode, using it as a makeshift road to quickly close the gap between him and Wolfram. Maximum overdrive. Stay back, stay back. The villain blasted out several smaller pillars at the truck, but Optimus swiftly transformed and brought his axe out again, cleaving through them all with a single strike. Then, with a swing of his arm, he sent out a spinning axe projectile from his weapon, cutting open the juggernaut to reveal David's shield within. The shock from the abrupt strike made Dave jolt awake, and his gaze met Prime's as the latter fell to the surface. I don't believe it, the scientist thought, recalling Wheeljack's description of the Autobot commander vividly. It's him. It's really him. Prime landing on his feet right at the base of the metal colossus, and Wolfram wasted no time in hollering with furious contempt. Yeah, why? Why do you bots just keep coming? He threw more scrap piles at Optimus, but he simply kept cutting through them with his axe. So, you're the one causing all of this strife, his optics narrowed, pointing a stern finger at him. The villain who has been harming my friends and comrades, well, that will all end soon enough. This makes no sense. Wolfram seethed, looking down and clenching his hands. All of you are made of metal. So why can't I control you? Optimus brought his own hands up, clenching it into a fist. So that is what I've been feeling, a very slight tugging sensation. The moment I landed on that column, I could feel it pulling at me, but only just barely. His optics moved back to Wolfram. Could it be that your quirk only works fully on inanimate metal? Prime swung his axe as Wolfram brought another pillar down, slicing it cleanly in half. That the living metal of Cybertron is beyond your power's reach. Reaching around his back, Prime brought out his ion blaster, shooting more mounds of scrap out of the air. We are not mere robots, after all. We are robotic organisms, given autonomy from the very planet our creator transformed himself into. Even with your great power, our sparks, our very essence, still fights against you. Silence. Using his enhanced power to its fullest, Wolfram made the roof do a wave, which managed to push Optimus away. If I cannot make you all my puppets, then I'll just rip you all to shreds. Skidding to a stop, Optimus suddenly found himself beside All Might, who declared, "You can try. But no matter what, this ends here." The number one hero sent his friend a salute. "It's good to see you, Prime. I was hoping you'd be here for this." A sigh passed through the Prime's vocal processor. "Ha, I only wish I could have gotten here sooner, All Might, my friend. My apologies, but until Agent Simmons heard otherwise, I was not able to leave that meeting." "Ah, it's alright. As someone who's had to deal with Simmons before, that's understandable. Now come on, let's finish this." "Right behind you," Izuku chimed in, bounding up between the two. "Optimus, glad you could make it." "Izuku." Optimus nodded down. "I am glad to see you are still in one piece, for the most part." He nudged his head up to the cargo jet above. "Agent Fairborn is on that plane, by the way. I'm sure she will be quite glad to see you, too." The Greenette's shoulders slumped, and he let out a nervous laugh. "Aha, yeah, right, but let's focus. That guy's gonna unleash his next attack any second." With a firm hand, All Might clenched at his pupil's shoulder. "Wait, young Midoriya. Your body, it can't handle this." Within the cracks of his mask, All Might could see Izuku offering a small yet hopeful smile. "Yeah, but, it's a hero's job to help those in need, right?" "Ha ha ha, you make a good point." All Might chortled before bringing up his other hand. "It looks like we're in a bind, so will you lend me your aid once more, young Midoriya?" Izuku shook his mentor's hand without hesitation. "Yes, sir." Bringing his own larger hand over theirs, Optimus agreed to the plan as well. Desperate times call for desperate measures, as the saying goes. "But Izuku, if things look bad, I want you to pull back, alright?" "It's alright, Optimus," Izuku assured, raising the arm with full gauntlet attached. "With this, I'll be alright. I promise." Very well, then. If you are that confident, then I say let's put an end to this, roll out." In unison, Deku and All Might echoed, "Yes, sir." Before rushing toward the Juggernaut in the blink of an eye, easily keeping up with the Prime on foot. Insert, "You Say Run," My Hero Academia soundtrack. "There's no way you can stop me." Wolfram howled, summoning even more mounds of scrap metal as they approached. "You're all insignificant pests. You don't know when to lie down and be crushed." But right as he was about to drop them, several explosions and energy blasts brought them down, courtesy of Bumblebee, Applink and a certain explosion user. "You're the one who doesn't know when he's beat." Katsuki snapped back. As the powerful trio rushed past, Bumblebee gave a shout of encouragement. "Prime, Izuku, All Might, give it to, I am." He could just barely make out Izuku giving him a thumbs up before the green-clad boy disappeared in a flash of green light, zipping up the side of the Colossus as more pillars came cascading down. Even those were stopped, however, thanks to an instant flash freeze from a couple of ice wielders. "I won't let you stop them," Shoto declared. "Not a chance," Glyph assured. Wolfram wasn't done yet, though, as he started using his quirk to the absolute limit, willing the entire rooftop to lift up. "This is over." The resulting wave was enough to blow everyone backward, Autobot and human included. The only ones who weren't affected were those still airborne, but to Wolfram, they hardly mattered. His main priority was stopping those three, and the next wave of metal would prove to do just. Cha-crom. All Might and Optimus Prime blew through the falling wall like it was a piece of tissue paper. And Deku, who was running across another pillar, delivered a super-powered rider kick straight through another. Kick. Crash. He rejoined Optimus and All Might as they rushed up the fallen wall, sprinting side by side toward their enemy, who was making an absolutely gigantic cube of metal to bring down upon all of them. Kyoka, May and Melissa were still watching the whole thing, the former beaming with pride seeing the trio in near-perfect sync. "Go get him, Green Bean." Seeing Melissa start to tear up again, May reached around, encouraging her rival. "Your dad's gonna be fine. I just know it." SNF, yeah. In their own heads, meanwhile, Izuku, All Might and Optimus were all thinking similar thoughts to keep themselves moving forward. To overcome the crisis in front of you by giving everything you have. And to save people, no matter the cost. That is what it means, to be a hero. I'll bring down this entire tower. With that proclamation, Wolfram sent his giant cube hurtling down at the three, his last-ditch effort to finally crush them. Optimus was well prepared for that, however, calling out, "Roller. Deploy and power link." The Prime's back compartment sprung open and launching out of it came a small blue robot, one with gray arms which each had 2 wheels on them, while his legs each had 1. He gave a salute as he fell through the air and transformed. On it, Optimus. Roller changed into his 6-wheeled carrier drone mode and attached to Optimus' back, allowing him to power up and activate a set of twin cannons that swung over his shoulders. Prime cannons, fire. Kra Chum. With that, the massive cube was blown through, allowing All Might and Deku to surge through with a burst of speed. Finish this, both of you. Izuku. Kyoka cheered from below. Stop him, All Might. Momo, Ochako and Keita reinforced. Tenya, Eijiro and Denki gave theirs as well. Go, Midoriya. As did Bakugo and Shoto. Destroy this guy. Hearing all of their supportive cries, the pair readied another blow, one set to end it all. Punch. Let's go, Deku started, slapping the left side of his belt as his arm began to glow. Beyond. All Might finished, his form also pulsating with power. From there, the duo flung themselves in and smashed their way through with one final punch, their costumes and armor getting torn to shreds from the sheer force alone. But even so, they followed through, and Wolfram let out with terrified scream as the pair hollered at him. Plus, Ultra. There was a blinding flash of light as the metal manipulator's juggernaut was blown to pieces, and then, silence. Dave. Waking up with a start, David Shield's vision was blurred, at least, a lot worse than usual. Even with his glasses on, it took a bit for his eyes to focus, but even so, that didn't stop him from remembering everything that had happened. The machination that Wolfram had created was destroyed, leaving the tower in ruin, and as his memories flooded back, Dave recalled seeing Izuku Midoriya, the young student punching his way through alongside All Might, a sight that mirrored a picture that Dave had kept to himself for so many years. It was of All Might, back in his younger days, punching upward in a similar manner, and seeing Izuku in the same dynamic way, it had finally made something click in Dave's mind. Those days were coming to an end. And as his sight finally cleared up, he saw his old friend, kneeling in front of him halfway between his muscle and skinny forms, still smiling at him despite everything that had happened. Toshi. I came to save you, my friend. Thank you. Dave breathed out. Just then, 2 shrill voices cried out from above, Papa. All Might. The duo craned their heads up, seeing Izuku and Melissa waving down at them, and that's when Dave finally realized that the entire top of the central tower had been turned into a crater of junk. And him and All Might were at the bottom of it. Hey, if you wanna thank someone, you should thank Melissa and young Midoriya. Toshinori chortled, seeing Wheeljack and Bumblebee come traipsing up from behind the crater's ridge. Along with all those who came to help as well. Oh, and speaking of which, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Thum. The approach of heavy footsteps made Dave whip his head up, and his jaw fell open at the sight of Optimus Prime looming above him. The Autobot leader knelt down, getting as close as he could to Dave as Roller detached from his back. Greetings, Professor Shield. All Might has told me much about you. My name is Optimus Prime. The leader of the Autobots himself, Dave smiled, lowering his head to the bot. It's an honor. I'm truly unworthy to be in your presence. Nonsense. The honor is mine. Prime nudged his head over to his engineer up above. I owe you a debt of gratitude, in fact. Thank you for keeping Wheeljack safe for all these years. You have no idea how happy I am to see him again. Dave was about to get up, but he winced as a sharp pain surged through him. Hold still, I've got you. Toshinori took a piece of ripped cloth from his costume, using it to patch Dave's wound. As he did, though, he felt it was better to rip the bandage off now rather than later. I heard most of what happened from Melissa. The scientist grew all the more crestfallen at that. It's all true. I was so scared you'd lose your light. Scared that the piece you built as a hero would fade away with you. He craned his head over, seeing Wolfram's unconscious body suspended by a piece of junk. At his dangling feet, he saw his device, completely broken. But my ideas and that device were no more than ways to maintain the status quo. To ensure nothing would ever change. Optimus nodded in understanding. I see, I can certainly relate to what you are saying, Professor. The commander set his gaze toward the sky, its nightly shade giving way to a brighter one as the sun rose over the horizon. I often find myself yearning for better days myself, but I know that they will not return. They never will, and while the future may seem uncertain, oftentimes even bleak, it is important that we work together to ensure that it is one that the next generation is proud to inherit. So that they may maintain it as well. I wish I had only realized that sooner. Dave lamented, seeing Izuku and Melissa calling to their friends, who were no doubt on the other side. The future was staring right at me the whole time. I just didn't notice it. He smiled fondly at his wonderful daughter and the hero who had saved him. Look at those two, she wants to be my successor, you know that. And Toshi, you have Izuku Midoriya. He'll take your place one day too, won't he? He still has a long road ahead, but in him shines the greatest potential I've ever seen among those who would become heroes. Toshinori grinned. I can see it, too, Toshi. Dave said, finally getting to his feet. Hope, a light like yours. Optimus nodded wholeheartedly as they and their protégés watched the sunrise. Indeed, that boy, your daughter, their friends, they all have hearts of true heroes. And this is the end of part 5 of season 3 of this What If. Hope you guys like it. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.